The moon isn't real. You think I'm kidding, or perhaps confusing physics with cheap magic, but every time you look up, you aren't seeing a solid, immutable rock. You are performing an act of violence. You are collapsing a field of infinite potentiality into a single temporary lie, just long enough to fool your eyes into believing in permanence. That celestial body you stake your tides and calendars on is nothing more than a spectacular, self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the brutal core of quantum mechanics, a truth physicists despise because it steals their control. They built their temples on the certainty of Newton, cause and effect, clockwork precision, but the universe runs on probability, not precision. It prefers chaos. It absolutely loves ambiguity. We are so obsessed with order. We need the moon to be there, even when we aren't looking, because if it isn't, then our entire construct of objective reality, our house built of bricks labeled fact, crumbles to dust. But the genius, and the profound terror, of Schrödinger's cat was never about the poor, hypothetical feline, half dead and half alive. It was about proving, mathematically, that the very act of knowing is what creates the known. The cat was merely a cosmic joke, designed to show us the absurdity of our demand for a singular reality. Now, apply that joke to everything. Apply it to the stars, to the chair you're sitting in, to the very air you breathe. They only exist in their defined state because the universe is constantly borrowing the focus of some conscious observer, whether that observer is human, a camera sensor, or perhaps the dark energy of space itself, to force the wave function to stop waving and just be a darn particle already. Wave function collapse is the most polite term in science for what is essentially reality having an existential panic attack the moment it realizes it's being watched. It panics, freezes, and pretends to be solid. Here is the reality you must accept. The universe fundamentally prefers ambiguity. It prefers the state where the moon is simultaneously orbiting and not orbiting, where it exists in every possible orbital path until you drag your observation into the equation and hold a gun to its head, forcing it to pick one state. That is observation. It's coercion. You trust gravity. You trust time. Don't. You are trusting rules imposed on a system that is naturally lawless. Quantum mechanics is not science. It's philosophy applied with equations. It is the mathematical description of pure, unstructured existence, and we use terms like entanglement and superposition to sound intelligent, but what we really mean is, we have no earthly idea why the universe insists on running on pure, unpredictable, elegant chaos. If you find comfort in the uncomfortable truths, if you prefer the terrifying clarity of quantum chaos to the comfortable, stable lie of Newtonian predictability, then you should probably stick around. We strip away the comfortable lies here, even the ones that give you a sense of security. The famous quantum scientist John Bell once said, "Nobody knows how it works." That's the most honest statement in all of physics. Bell understood that the entire edifice of modern science is built on a denial of the true lesson of the cat. Reality is non-local, non-objective, and deeply, deeply strange. We desperately try to localize it. We try to put boundaries on it. But the quantum field laughs at boundaries. It scoffs at distance. We look at the moon and demand a simple answer. Particle or wave? Real or potential? The moon, however, answers with a shrug that says, both, neither, and whatever you need it to be to keep your tiny mammalian brain from melting down. The most damaging lie ever told by conventional science is that the macro world, the world of tables and cars, is separate from the micro world of probabilities. They are not separate. They are the same system, operating under the same rules. Your table is just a highly observed quantum wave that has temporarily agreed to look like solid oak for your benefit. Now, get this. The absurdity deepens when you realize the human element is not just observing, it's defining. We are the instruments of stability in a universe that constantly tries to destabilize itself. The only reason the cosmos hasn't dissolved back into a homogeneous, undefined mist is because consciousness, yours, mine, the collective global consciousness, is constantly holding the line. We are, essentially, reality's unwilling prison guards. We keep putting the objects back in the box every time they try to escape into pure probability. But what happens when the observation is imperfect? What happens when the observer is biased, flawed, or simply wrong? Because that observer, that definitive force, is you, and you are deeply, fundamentally unreliable. You are a biological machine full of confirmation bias, emotional filtering, and sensory limitations. Yet, the universe entrusts its stability to you. The moon exists not just because you look at it, but because your flawed looking is enough to satisfy the requirements of collapse. Think about the stakes there. Everything you see, everything you touch, is contingent on the flawed, messy apparatus sitting right behind your eyes. Your imperfection defines permanence. It's the ultimate paradox. The moon is a mirror reflecting the messy state of your attention. If your imperfection defines permanence, then what happens when you simply stop looking? Chaos waits. Pure possibility bubbles up at the very edges of your perception, desperate to reclaim the freedom of infinite potential. You assume the chair is still there, sturdy and wooden, when you close your eyes and leave the room. You just assume that the wall holds firm and doesn't flicker into a million possible states of existence, a shimmering curtain of maybe. I sincerely doubt it stays solid. The only reason it doesn't dissolve is because of the collective, overwhelming burden of human consciousness constantly agreeing. It is wood. It is sturdy. It is fixed. That agreement is the heaviest anchor the universe knows. It is exhausting. Think about the energy drain. Observation is not a passive reception of data. It is an active, continuous, subatomic energy expenditure. It is a constant tax you pay just to keep the lights on in this perceived reality. You are constantly fighting the fundamental entropy of existence simply by paying attention. Every time your focus slips, every time your consciousness goes dim in sleep or distraction, reality suffers a tiny infinitesimal shudder. Now you know the hidden mechanism of stability. If you want the code behind the curtain, if you value understanding the true nature of power over comfortable ignorance, then you belong right here. We peel back the illusion for those who dare to look. Now, understand this critical point. If reality is fundamentally contingent on observation, then the true fight for control is not over land or money. It's over focus. Who controls the direction of the collective gaze? Who instructs the global mind where to stabilize reality? Mass media, political structures, the whole noise machine. They don't just tell you what to see. They instruct reality itself where to collapse the waveform. They tell the universe which potential future it is permitted to solidify into history. When they flood the signal with panic or distraction, they are effectively diverting billions of observers away from stabilizing the things that actually matter: the integrity of institutions, the underlying economic stability, the critical infrastructure of civilization. Distraction is a weapon of quantum warfare. It weakens the anchor. The reality you inhabit is a highly curated hallucination enforced by consensus. You, i.e., sitting there believing you are powerless. Nonsense. Your consciousness is the fundamental stabilizing force, and that, truly, is why they hate silence. They despise deep analytical solitude. Quiet thought allows the observer to redirect their gaze, to choose their own potential to stabilize. When you stop looking at the distracting, predefined narrative they flash on the screen, that narrative begins to destabilize for you. It starts to flicker. It loses its grip. But let's get darker. The real danger isn't just that reality is fragile. It's that reality is elastic. If your imperfect observation defines permanence, what about the observations you are specifically primed to ignore? The things you are told are impossible, fringe, or non-existent. The systems you can't see don't disappear. They simply operate under the rules of low observation. They become more flexible, more probabilistic. This explains the shadow history, the suppressed technologies, the deep state mechanisms. They thrive in the periphery. They exist, fully functional, in the state of maybe, because the vast collective eye of humanity has been meticulously trained to look elsewhere. You think the system is rigid. It is not. It's fluid in the dark places where observation is weakest. We keep putting the objects back in the box every time they try to escape into pure probability. They, the architects of control, are masters of probabilistic camouflage. They hide their most dangerous truths, not by burying them, but by ensuring they exist just outside the narrow band of frequency your attention is allowed to occupy. Think of time itself. We experience time as linear because we collectively observe it as linear. It's a habit, a cosmic agreement forged over millennia of shared experience. But the quantum field laughs at boundaries. It scoffs at distance. What if the past is not gone? What if the past is simply a very weakly observed state of the present, still vibrating, still available for collapse? Maybe you find that idea insane. Perhaps. But if observation defines reality, then a change in attention could allow us to stabilize historical potentials that were previously discarded. This is the ultimate secret of true power. Whoever controls the past controls the stability of the present, and they control the possibilities of the future, not by changing facts, but by directing the observing mind. They lock down the timeline by forcing 7 billion people to agree on one definitive narrative of what was. They are not historians. They are reality anchors. And you, the observer, are their essential, unreliable, and frighteningly powerful tool. Your life, your memory, your flawed attention. It is the glue holding the matrix together. The choice is simple. Remain an unwitting anchor for a reality designed by others, or reclaim your gaze and demand that the universe start collapsing the potentials you choose to look at. We keep putting the objects back in the box every time they try to escape into pure probability. They, the architects of control, are masters of probabilistic camouflage. They hide their most dangerous truths, not by burying them, but by ensuring they exist just outside the narrow band of frequency your attention is allowed to occupy. Think of time itself. We experience time as linear because we collectively observe it as linear. It's a habit, a cosmic agreement forged over millennia of shared experience. But the quantum field laughs at boundaries. It scoffs at distance. What if the past is not gone? What if the past is simply a very weakly observed state of the present, still vibrating, still available for collapse? Maybe you find that idea insane. Perhaps. But if observation defines reality, then a change in attention could allow us to stabilize historical potentials that were previously discarded. This is the ultimate secret of true power. Whoever controls the past controls the stability of the present, and they control the possibilities of the future, not by changing facts, but by directing the observing mind. They lock down the timeline by forcing 7 billion people to agree on one definitive narrative of what was. They are not historians. They are reality anchors. And you, the observer, are their essential, unreliable, and frighteningly powerful tool. Your life, your memory, your flawed attention. It is the glue holding the matrix together. The choice is simple. Remain an unwitting anchor for a reality designed by others, or reclaim your gaze and demand that the universe start collapsing the potentials you choose to look at. The news is not data. It's a tranquilizer. It's finely crushed cognitive sand designed to occupy the spaces where disruptive thoughts might land. Look at the sheer volume of meaningless input we consume daily. Financial markets, celebrity gossip, political theater, noise, all of it. Why the noise? Because silence allows potential to thrive. Silence allows you to hear the subtle, persistent hum of possibilities they want dead. They feed you manufactured outrage like cheap synthetic dopamine. You fight the phantom. You waste your observation energy on scripted conflict. And while you are busy arguing about Party A versus Party B, both sides owned, both sides scripted, the real technology, the physics that could dissolve their entire control grid, sits dormant in basement vaults. Free energy is not a technical problem. It's an observational one. If billions of people truly believed in a world where energy was ubiquitous and free, the entire infrastructure of resource scarcity, the essential lever of their power, would destabilize. It would simply collapse from lack of observation holding it together. They know this. They fear this consensus shift more than any revolution or bomb. If this truth cuts through the noise for you, if you feel the urge to look deeper than the official script allows, then you are exactly where you need to be. There is a community here that values profound skepticism over comfortable ignorance. Join us. They call it coincidence. Bullshit. Coincidence is the residue of reality management. When a fact that destabilizes the accepted timeline surfaces, it's not suppressed with brute force anymore. That's clumsy. They bury it in plausible deniability. They flood the zone with 12 similar but fake stories. Then they weaponize your own intellect against you. Skepticism is the greatest defense against fraud, right? Wrong. Skepticism has been weaponized into universal denial. If a truth is too big, too inconvenient, too threatening to your settled view of history, your brain, the perfect little reality anchor, rejects it automatically. It's a defense mechanism exploited by the system. Cognitive dissonance demands resolution. It hurts to hold two conflicting, massive truths simultaneously. So, what do? We discard the harder, more dangerous truth. We choose the comfort of the lie. This is Pavlovian conditioning on a global scale. We are trained to self-censor the radical possibility. They don't need censorship, they perfected preemptive internal rejection. Think about the UAP files released. Not hidden, not buried, drowned. So much ambiguity, so much blurred footage, enough truth to satisfy the true seekers, but not enough clarity to force a societal consensus collapse. It's controlled disclosure. The slow drip feeds the conspiracy industry, which acts as a fantastic buffer, absorbing the shock of truth and neutralizing it with layers of absurd speculation. Look closer. The conspiracy theorist is often the system's best unwitting janitor, taking genuine leaks and mixing them with unhinged fiction until no one can sort the signal from the static. Your attention gets diluted, your certainty dissolves, everything becomes maybe, and maybe is where they live. They thrive in the gray zone of non-committal observation. They need you skeptical, but not decisive. They need you questioning everything, but believing nothing fully. They need you paralyzed by potential. Ponder the concept of engineered distraction. It's not about keeping you busy, it's about keeping your focus diffuse. Your attention is the quantum flashlight. The wider the beam, the weaker the light, the less likely you are to collapse any specific reality into being. Narrow the focus. Demand clarity. That is the first act of cognitive rebellion. You stop observing the noise. You withdraw your energetic anchor from the timeline they constructed. They lose stability immediately. They start scrambling. They need every single person agreeing that the laws of physics are inviolate, that the past is fixed, that our limits are real. This is why history classes matter more than physics labs. The history class tells you what is possible. The physics lab tells you what is. And if the former restricts the latter, you are living in a cage made of mutually agreed upon fiction. Stop agreeing. Just stop. That simple refusal is the most terrifying weapon they face, because the moment enough people stop looking at the lie stops existing. It fades into the weakly observed potential, waiting for someone else to look at it again. Don't look back. Build a new timeline by staring fixedly at the future you intend to materialize. But will you actually do it? Will you truly withdraw your focus, or will you immediately look back, checking the old timeline for confirmation that your new one is stable? That is the crack in your cognitive armor. You crave validation. You crave certainty. This need for external confirmation is the ultimate engineered fragility. It keeps you tethered to consensus reality, even when you know it's a lie. You want to build a new timeline by force of focused will. Stop it. That is linear arrogance talking. Control is the grandest, most seductive illusion ever marketed to the human species. We are addicted to structure, path, and progress. Why? Because structure promises safety. Safety does not exist. The universe is entropy incarnate, pure, glorious, necessary disorder. We desperately attempt to impose straight lines on a fractal reality. That is the foundational paradox of modern life. We are absurdists who refuse to admit we are living inside the joke. You spend your finite time building massive sandcastles, careers, mortgages, legacies, against a tide that is guaranteed to erase them. Then you call the erasure tragic. It isn't tragic. It is inevitable physics. The true cognitive rebellion is not about imposing a better order. It's about recognizing that order itself is the leash. They need you to believe that hard work equals reward, that causality is inviolate, that effort guarantees outcome. They need you chasing the algorithm of fairness. But the universe is not fair. It is random. That brilliant opportunity that changed your life. Pure chance. That devastating loss that crippled your spirit. Unpredictable collision. Stop trying to find the guiding hand. Stop hunting for the grand plan. There isn't one. There is only the frantic, beautiful, terrifying chaos of being. Every time you ask, what does it all mean? You hand your power over to the non-existent arbiter. The meaning is the question itself, a self-generating feedback loop designed to keep you searching outside the only place that matters. Your immediate, ungovernable perception, that desperate urge to categorize, to file away the frightening, unbound possibilities, that's the ultimate self-imposed cage. It is built from existential anxiety, reinforced by a media environment that monetizes your fear of the unknown. They sell you predictability, they sell you 5-year plans. They sell you the comforting lie that if you just follow the map, you will reach the destination. But there is no map. Only territory. And that territory is constantly shifting, dissolving, and recreating itself with maniacal speed. So, what is the Revolutionary Act? The Revolutionary Act is embracing the absurdity. It means looking at the chaos and laughing, not because you are happy, but because the universe demands the joke be told. The moment you stop insisting that your life conform to a logical narrative, the moment you drop the burden of seeking external validation for your existence, you become functionally immune to their systems of control. They rely on your need for sense. Refuse to make sense. This is the ultimate counterintelligence maneuver. They program you to look for stable systems. You become the fluid element. You become unpredictable. You stop giving a damn about the consensus timeline because you understand consensus is a temporary, weakly observed moment in a sea of potential. The man trying to control every outcome is the most controlled man in the room. His rigidity makes him easy to predict. The woman who moves purely on intuition, accepting the random destruction and creation equally, she is ungovernable. She is the error code in the matrix. Look at the financial systems, the political narratives, the social hierarchies. They are all elaborate, intricate mechanisms designed to give the impression of stability. They are the stage sets, but they require constant energetic input, your belief, to remain standing. Withdraw your belief in the stability. Recognize that every dollar, every law, every boundary is entirely arbitrary, a mutually agreed upon fiction held together by shared neurosis. It's all a shimmering mirage. What happens when you poke the illusion of order? It dissipates immediately. But you are so afraid of the void underneath that you keep propping up the facade, terrified of drowning in the liberating lack of meaning. Drown. Let the nonsense wash over you. Only then can you stop wasting energy on maintenance and start existing purely as a state of being, unbound by fictional accountability. This is not nihilism. This is profound operational freedom. The system demands that you build a monument to yourself. Don't build anything. Just live like a flickering flame in the cosmic wind. That is the highest form of defiance. They can't tax chaos. They can't regulate the void. They can't imprison an idea that embraces its own impermanence. The moment you stop clinging to the hope of order, you win. Everything else is just noise management. The fundamental lie they sold you, the one that truly traps the soul, is that complexity implies permanence. Look closely. It doesn't. Intricate gears spin fastest when they are closest to failure. You mistake momentum for stability. You confuse the sheer volume of bureaucratic paperwork for meaningful accountability. It is all the theatrical illusion of gravity, forcing you to look down, forcing you to focus on the small circle of your own immediate, terrified existence. They want you terrified of falling because only the man holding the safety rope has authority over you. But there is no safety rope. There is only the void, and the void doesn't care if you have good credit or if you paid your taxes on time. It is perfectly indifferent to your moral scorecard. This indifference is the most powerful resource you possess. You must internalize this truth. Meaning is not discovered. It is manufactured entirely by you and only for you. Anyone who demands you adopt their meaning is trying to forge a chain with your own desire for structure. Snap the chain. You were not put here to optimize, to categorize, or to submit quarterly reports on your personal growth. That is the language of the machine, designed to make you a predictable, scalable resource. We are reaching the terminal stage of manufactured order, where the system is so heavily optimized for compliance that the only thing left to do is embrace operational dysfunction. Be the glitch. Be the data anomaly that refuses to be corrected. Stop trying to find your purpose, for God's sake. Purpose is just a nice word for a leash. Instead, find your intensity. What vibrates in you without the need for external validation? What happens when the audience leaves and the stage lights dim? That raw, sputtering energy, that is sovereignty. Everything else is a performance review. And here is the verdict, the only one that truly matters. True freedom is not the absence of suffering, but the radical acceptance of absurdity. The only ungovernable man is the one who accepts that his existence is a cosmic joke, and then proceeds to live with ruthless, vibrant sincerity anyway. He does not fear the collapse of the market, because he understood the market was imaginary to begin with. He does not fear political narratives, because he knows all human authority is built on the transient faith of weak men. The people who are truly running this world, the ones who hold the structural keys, are terrified of one thing: silence. The sudden, terrifying quiet when the masses stop trying to make sense of the nonsense. They are afraid of the moment you withdraw your active participation in the pretense of order. They cannot control what they cannot define. They cannot tax the decision to stop caring about their definitions. This is the end game. This is the great refusal. So, here is your final, terrifying liberation. The systems will not save you. They cannot even save themselves. They require constant, frantic maintenance, and your belief is the oil in their rusted gears. Stop lubricating the machine. Stop seeking closure where only vast, swirling ambiguity exists. The minute you embrace the fact that you are an accident, a beautiful, terrifying, unique accident, all the manufactured chains fall away. You become a ghost in their system, seen but untouchable. You realize the ultimate power is not found in building a perfect life, but in destroying the need for one. Stop looking for the instruction manual. You are the instruction manual. Now, go be chaotic. Go be beautifully, terrifyingly, completely useless to their order. Your only obligation is to observe the world without apologizing for its lack of meaning. This is how you win. You simply stop playing the game. They need your fear. That's the fuel for the whole terrible engine. But when that engine sputters out, when you finally stand still, what happens? Silence. Just terrifying, clean silence. You realize the noise was always just the sound of your own frantic participation. The great defining terror of the modern man is not oppression. It is realizing the sheer volume of choices he has actively surrendered, because the alternative, true, unbounded ambiguity, felt too lonely. You traded self-sovereignty for a pre-written character arc and a 401k. That was the bargain. Terrible trade. Now break it. This entire civilization, this frantic, screaming marketplace of definitions, this obsession with finding ultimate meaning or stability, it is nothing more than a highly advanced consensus hallucination. You do not beat a hallucination by fighting it. You beat it by walking straight through it. You realize the currency, the rules, the moral panics, the political theater. They are all temporary software running on the singular, irreplaceable hardware of your mind. Unplug the connection. Delete the program. Simple, right? But it demands a kind of intellectual courage almost nobody possesses. Most people crave the comfort of the cage, providing they get to choose the color of the bars. But here is the final, undeniable truth. The verdict. The only thing worth believing in is the absolute knowledge that nothing is worth believing in absolutely. The system is not evil. It is merely non-existent, a massive shadow puppet show powered by the batteries of your attention. When the batteries die, the shadows retract into the flimsy screen. Freedom is the moment you recognize the screen for the cheap cloth it is. It is the moment you stop demanding that the universe makes sense, stop demanding that your neighbor be reasonable, and stop demanding that your own life follow a narrative structure invented by ancient priests and modern marketers. Your obligation is not to find your purpose. That is the final trap. Purpose is just a self-imposed chain you wrap around yourself and call it discipline. No, your only obligation is to feel intensely, to observe ruthlessly, and to act without seeking external validation for the beautiful mess that you are. You there, watching this screen. Don't tell me you need a defined role. You are the undefined role. You are the anomaly that proves the rules are useless. Look around. This entire fragile construct is leaning on the hope that you never realize the joke is on the director. not the audience. And when the credits roll, what will be left? Just you, unapologetic, chaotic, free, and the vast, cold, indifferent stars. That's the only truth that bites. Accept the absurdity. Own the space. Stop demanding coherence. Start living. They built the world on quicksand. Good. It means you can kick the entire pathetic castle down whenever you choose. Your real power resides not in finding a perfect moral framework, but in realizing that moral frameworks are just temporary architectural blueprints drawn by terrified men centuries ago. The truth? Nobody is watching. Nobody cares if you succeed or fail based on their metrics. That absolute, terrifying indifference is the ultimate currency of freedom. You stop chasing ghosts. Stop trying to win the argument with the crowd. They crave your participation. They need your predictable rage, your neatly categorized pain. Don't give them the battery. Unplug the projection. The highest act of rebellion is merely walking away from a game you never agreed to play. This isn't about becoming better. It's about becoming untouchable. When the panic subsides, when the static finally clears, you will stand alone, fully illuminated by the light of your own defiant nonsense. And the beautiful, crushing verdict remains. You were never obligated to solve the paradox. You are only obligated to recognize its flawless construction and then simply exist outside of it. The script is burning. The curtain falls. That quiet realization is the loudest, truest applause you will ever hear. This is the ultimate shattering verdict. You cannot fail, only submit. Stop searching for the hidden meaning in the cosmic static. There isn't one. Just the undeniable signal of your own defiant, messy, temporary existence. Recognize the perfect joke. Then walk straight through the punchline. You are finally, terrifyingly home.